You know how an app can go from just a tiny idea to a global phenomenon seemingly overnight? Well, a huge piece of that magic happens in what we call the cloud. And today we're going to dive into one of the giants that makes all that possible, Google Cloud Platform.
I mean, this is the big question, right? Every developer, every entrepreneur thinks about this. You've got this brilliant idea, but where do you get the raw power, the massive storage, and the global reach to actually make it real? Well, the answer, as you're about to see, is all in the cloud.
Okay, to really see how this all works in the real world, let's follow the journey of a startup we'll call Innovate Tech. Picture this. They've got the code for a brand new e-commerce website all ready to go, but they're missing that crucial piece, the actual power to bring it to life and show it to the world.
And that is exactly where Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, comes into the picture. Think of it like the ultimate digital toolbox, just packed with everything Innovate Tech needs to build, launch, and most importantly, scale their idea. So, what is this thing really?
Well, at its core, GCP is a whole suite of cloud computing services. And here's the crazy part, they run on the exact same infrastructure that powers Google's own monster products. We're talking Google Search, Gmail, YouTube. Yeah, this is literally world-class power we're talking about.
Okay, so why would a startup like Innovate Tech go with GCP? Well, there are a few huge reasons. First, you get incredible global scalability, so as your app gets popular, the platform just grows with you. It's also surprisingly cost-effective. Plus, you get to play with all of Google's cutting-edge toys in things like AI and machine learning. And of course, the whole thing is built on top of some of the most robust security on the planet.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does Innovate Tech actually build their site using this toolbox? We're going to see how they pick and choose specific GCP services, almost like digital building blocks, to solve each and every problem they run into along the way.
Okay, first things first, and this is the big one. You've got all your code ready to go, but where does it actually run? Where does it live? Where does it get the horsepower to execute everything and start serving up web pages to your first visitors?
For our startup, Innovate Tech, the answer is a service called Compute Engine. Now, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it as your very own virtual server. It's like having a powerful computer in the cloud that you have total and complete control over. You can install your operating system, your software, whatever you need to get your app up and running.
Okay, awesome. The site's code is running. That's a huge step. But let's be real. An e-commerce site is pretty useless without all those product images and videos, right? All that media, that's what we call unstructured data. And you need a place to store it. A place that's huge, reliable, and super fast. And for that, the perfect solution is cloud storage. Seriously, just think of it as a massive global data bucket. You can throw virtually unlimited amounts of stuff in there. All your images, videos, documents, backups, you name it, and then access it instantly from anywhere in the world. It's built to be incredibly durable, and it scales pretty much infinitely.
Right. But what about all the other data? This is different. We're not talking about just files anymore. We're talking about all that organized, structured information. User accounts, product lists, order histories. That kind of data needs to be organized, it needs to be searchable, and it has to be super reliable. For that, you need a proper database.
And the perfect tool for this job is Cloud SQL. Now, the magic word here is managed. What that means is that Innovate Tech gets a super powerful, super reliable SQL database, but they don't have to worry about any of the headaches. No server patching, no backups, no painful maintenance. Google takes care of all that stuff, so Innovate Tech can just focus on building their business.
All right, let's fast forward a bit. Innovate Tech launches their website and it's a massive hit, which is amazing, right? But that success brings a whole new set of challenges. I mean, they're good problems to have, for sure, but there's still problems that absolutely need to be solved. Because suddenly we're not talking about a few hundred users anymore. We're talking millions. Millions of people visiting from all over the world. That one little virtual server we set up, yeah, there's no way it can handle that kind of load. It would just fall over and crash. So how in the world do you keep the site fast and online for everyone? The answer is something called cloud load balancing. Just think of it as a super intelligent traffic manager for your website. It sits out front, and instead of having just one server, you now have many copies of your application running. The load balancer sees all the incoming traffic and smartly distributes it across all those copies. That way, no single server ever gets overwhelmed. This, right here, is the secret to handling massive global scale.
So at this point, Innovate Tech is running this huge global operation.
And that means they're generating an unbelievable amount of data. Every click, every purchase, every single search, it's all getting logged. And all that data is an absolute gold mine if they can figure out how to make sense of it.
Exactly. How do they figure out which products are flying off the shelves? What are the busiest times of day? Where in the world are most of their customers coming from? You know, answering these critical business questions means sifting through mountains of information, literally terabytes or even petabytes of data.
And for that kind of heavy lifting, there's BigQuery. Honestly, this thing is like Google's magic wand for data analysis. It's what's known as a serverless data warehouse, which basically means you can ask it incredibly complex questions about these gigantic data sets and get answers back in seconds. Not hours or days, seconds. It's how you turn all that raw data into actual business intelligence.
All right, let's just zoom out for a moment. We've been looking at some very specific tools for specific jobs. But one of the really core ideas behind all of Google Cloud is that it offers a whole spectrum of services. It's all about letting you choose the right balance between how much control you want versus how much convenience you need.
And this is the perfect way to visualize that trade-off. On one end of the spectrum, you have something called Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. That's our compute engine from earlier. It gives you maximum control. You manage the server, the OS, everything. But on the other end, you have Platform as a Service, or PaaS, with tools like App Engine. Here, it's all about maximum convenience. You literally just give Google your code and they handle everything else. There's no right or wrong answer, just depends on what your project needs.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. This is Innovate Tech's final architecture. You can see exactly how each business need we talked about maps directly to a specific GCP service. We've got Compute Engine to host the website, Cloud Storage for all the product images, Cloud SQL to manage all the user and order data, Cloud Load Balancing to handle that massive global traffic, and finally BigQuery to analyze all the sales data. It's all working together, a complete system.
And honestly, this is the most important part of the whole story. If you think about it, maybe 20 years ago, this kind of computing power, this kind of global reach, it was only available to the absolute biggest companies in the world. The real magic of platforms like GCP is that these incredible, powerful building blocks are now accessible to absolutely everyone, from a single developer working in their bedroom to a small startup like Innovate Tech.
It's a total game changer. It really democratizes innovation. The very same tools running on the very same infrastructure that built Google itself are now in your hands. Which really just leaves us with one final, very exciting question to think about. What will be built next?